Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for AI Skills Fest. My name is Hannah Crapeau and I work as a marketing manager for Pearson. I'm excited to be leading today's panel discussion about how to take learning objectives and turn them into job-ready skills in the age of AI. We're very privileged to be joined by two incredible experts. Our first panelist is Tracey Sigers, Director of AI and Digital Skills at the National Center for Urban Solutions in Ohio. And our second panelist is Brandy Sevin, Assistant Professor of Computer Office Systems and Department Head of Business at Fletcher Technical Community College in Louisiana. So let's go ahead and dive in, ladies. Let's kick things off with some introductions. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your professional background? So Tracey, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Microsoft and everyone for having us on today. My name is Professor Tracey Sigers. I am the Director of AI and Digital Skills for NCUS. That would be National Center for Urban Solutions here in Columbus, Ohio. Very grateful to be here today to talk about these AI skills and how we can move forward and leave no one behind.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tracey. Brandy, we'll kick things over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. I'm Brandy Sevin, and I am from Schriever, Louisiana. I am an assistant professor and business department head at Fletcher Technical Community College. And thank you for having us here.
Incredible. So let's go ahead and start our panel. Let's dive right into the topic of the day. AI is changing the skills that employers need and the way that they hire. So what do you think that means for educators and students today? Tracey, we'll go ahead and start with you.
I think for educators, and forgive me because I do have my notes because I'll get off track and I don't want to get off track. It's a lot. It's so packed. It's so packed. But for educators, I think it's away from moving from memorization and really having some tools to help them in the room. I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday, and I said, it's an opportunity to take some traditional things that we do and move them and upskill them in a way that understanding we are still our pilot and these AI tools are our co-pilot. So for educators, I think it's just a way of enhancing what they're already doing because educators are great, right? They're just great. And so having those enhancements, I think, works really well with that. And for students, it shifts from knowing answers to really understanding the right answers and how to research those answers and putting those answers into a place where they can say, you know what? Hey, I thought I knew this a little bit, but I went and researched it. I got some more information, but really giving them those answers and those tools to upskill them and prepare them for the workforce.
I love that concept of the co-pilot and the pilot, right? It's a thought partner. It's not necessarily a replacement engine. Brandy, we'll kick things over to you. Your thoughts on...
I agree with Tracey. We were a little slow jumping on the AI bandwagon. So at first we were focused on making sure students weren't cheating. So that was like our big focus when it first came out. And then finally, when we opened our eyes and we stepped out of that bubble, we said, oh my goodness, we need to teach and take advantage of how to teach proper AI use or we're going to be left behind along with our students. And in my department, AI is completely reshaping the workforce. And honestly, it's exciting for education. Like Tracey said, we're moving away from memorization. We're moving away from repetitive tasks, and we're going into things that are creative, that shows creativity and how they adapt and communication and problem solving. And in my department, I work really closely with my advisory board. And I tend to ask them what's needed in society, what's needed out there in the real world with AI. And they're not looking for someone who could just follow steps anymore. They want people who can think critically with technology, that they can communicate and they can adapt with these tools and that they can evolve with these tools. So as educators, I feel that we have an incredible opportunity right now. We get to redesign our learning. And like Tracey said, we're redesigning so our students can practice those real world skills instead of only just completing those traditional assignments. And it's great so that they can use this after graduation. So it's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, it's all about the real world applicability. Go ahead, Tracey.
No, I'm agreeing with Brandy on everything that she's saying. I'm thinking that it is so crucial that as we move through AI as educators, that we are really taking those hard questions and really, and she's right. Everybody in the education world was, they're cheating. I heard Cornell and some other universities say, we're going back to oral presentations. and that's great. And I think we focused on just that one little piece. We didn't understand that those tools really help expand the knowledge. They help mature oral presentations, right? Use it as a practice tool on how you can present your oral presentation. And I think we kind of missed that in the beginning because everyone was so fearful of what could happen. So I'm agreeing with Brandy.
Absolutely.
And it was kind of like a click. It was like, wait a minute. We have to meet them. Like they're using it incorrectly. So click, let's change what we're doing so that they can learn how to use it correctly.
Exactly.
So I'm going to tie, Randy, to some of what you were saying with our next question. It's a lot of the fear around AI is that it pushes aside some of those human skills, but I think we've all kind of reframed our thought process on that. And there's a balance between the technical skills and the human skills. So how do you see AI influencing that balance with the students that you've been working with, Brandy?
So I actually think AI is making human skills more important than ever. I see it with my students in these new courses. You know, AI can generate content, it automates tasks, it organizes information, but it still depends on the people to guide it effectively. One of the biggest skills students need today is the prompting. Prompting is the way they communicate with AI. And it's problem solving and it's that critical thinking. The quality of AI output really depends heavily on the quality of what's the input. You can't just take everything it gives you. Students need to know how to ask those strong questions, how to refine instructions, evaluate their responses, and think critically about what AI is producing. The students who will stand out in the workforce are the ones who not just simply use AI, they're the ones who know how to direct it strategically and responsibly while being creative, still showing that empathy because AI can't do that. Leadership and bringing that decision making to the table.
Bringing those human skills to the table. Tracey, anything to add to that? Thoughts about the balance between human and technical skills?
Brandy said a lot. She unpacked a lot right there. So she said pretty much everything that I would say. And I think what I would say is coming from a technical background, we have to transfer our knowledge and our thinking, and we can't be afraid to go over that bridge and understanding that it is still some technical skills that are aligned, but they're easier, right? Because it's just prompting. It's about how do you talk to this engine? How do you talk to your co-pilot to say, this is where we're going? The co-pilot might say, oh, no, I don't want you to go that way. Go this way. But you still may have to tell that co-pilot, no, I'm the human. I have the human interaction. This is the way we're going. And I believe it does what you tell it to do, right? So it has no choice but to jump on board. And so I think having those skills and understanding that this is how this operates. You'll hear people say things about, oh, we're going to agents and it has to have an agentic process. Can't do anything without that generative AI fundamental prompting. So you have to know how to talk to it because everything behind that is a process. So it's just like I said, if I'm the pilot and I have the co-pilot and I'm giving the co-pilot all the tools, the co-pilot definitely has to go where I tell it to go.
And so when you finally get that niche of doing that correctly, the output that it can produce is
amazing. It's amazing. And it's really, what's really cool too, is watching people and watching students and watching educators and watching your executives, once they get that prompting down, they're pretty dangerous, so pretty dangerous.
And what augments this human capacity, right? The whole point to what you were saying earlier is that it's supposed to be our thought partner, someone who can work with us to really augment our abilities.
Right.
And I think both of you have touched on how fearful a lot of us were at the beginning about AI in the classroom and what that looks like. So I wanted to get your perspectives currently, now that it's been, I think, a little bit more embraced. What role is AI playing in the higher education classroom? And Tracey, we'll start with you.
So higher education classroom, let's be real. At first, when it came out, everybody was writing their papers. They were doing everything they could. They were like, hey, this is it. And it was hard to get it. It was a fast moving train. So I think that brought a lot of pause to educators and everyone was nervous. And then I asked a group of colleagues, well, how do you know it's AI? So then they started pinpointing this word, that word. you can't even do that. You can't even say that because you have some very bright individuals who may speak that way, right? And so I came over to the other side. How can we teach individuals to use these tools effectively and to get the best outcomes for what they're doing? So in higher education in the classroom now, those tools, those prompting tools, those agents, how do you become an organized student? How do you create an agent to make your work organized and keep you on track? And so I see it in the classroom now as being a benefit, being a tool to upskill, because that very tool that you use in the classroom, guess what? Ding, ding, ding. You got to take it into the workforce, because now everyone is like, hey, if you know this, if you know how to create a simple agent, that process that took us 2 hours to do or 3 hours to do, it only should take you 30 minutes to do. Can you do that? Do you have those, those skills? And so in higher education, those tools that you're using in the classroom, I see them transferring very well into the workforce. And so I believe that those tools, when we start talking about prompting, we talk about agents, we talk about creating those things that you can have to make your life a little easier and to make your task easier. That's where I believe higher education is going. It's here. We have no choice. We had to join them. They say you either beat them or join them. We had to join them because we couldn't keep beating them.
Brandy, you mentioned the same thing, that there was a little bit of a delay at Fletcher because everyone was a little bit concerned about embracing AI. How are you seeing it play out in Fletcher now that it's more in the classroom?
Tracey spoke on the student side mostly, and on the teaching side and the teaching tool, it's amazing. In higher education, both in students and instructors can get that personalized learning, and instructors can use it for their course development. Oh my goodness, create a course with AI. If you haven't done it, try it. It's amazing.
Amazing.
It's amazing. You can get help with lesson planning. You can get help with providing immediate feedback. It supports accessibility. It encourages creativity. And it, like we've said, it simulates real workplace experiences. And so I believe that the conversation is no longer about whether AI belongs in education. It's more about how we teach students to use it ethically, responsibly, and effectively. Again, like Tracey said, for the modern workplace. And I do believe many educators are starting to jump on board with this trend, whether it's using little programs or Chat GPT, they're using it. And once you do it, it's amazing because, we can come up with ideas, but when it takes it even further than we could ever think. And so it's amazing.
Right.
So I'm going to lean in a little bit more, Brandy, to what you were saying. Thinking about experimenting and using AI, tell us how you're using it to enhance your teaching and the learning outcomes in your classroom.
Oh, I created a course. I created two and so far, and then I'm creating another one. I use AI in a very practical, workforce-focused way. So in my Excel class, my Power BI and business education, business technology courses, students use AI to organize. So the Power BI was the first one that I built. And I used AI to build it. And it was simply amazing. And the students used it to organize data sets. They generated formulas. They used it to analyze trends, troubleshoot errors, improve workflow. And was it easy for them? No, they freaked out at the beginning because they weren't spoon-fed anymore. It wasn't a click and how do you do it? It was like, hey, you're building a company and this company has this much information. I'll take this information and let's start here and build. And they were scared at the beginning, but it was the most rewarding class at the end for me to see and for them to see what they built in those Power BI data sheets and dashboards towards the end. They were impressed with themselves.
Well, because it's a lot of information, right? Like it enhances their ability to analyze data. It makes it so that you have almost, I can't get past Tracey's comment about Copilot, and it keeps coming up in my brain. But this enhanced ability, because it's no longer one person. Right. It's the augmented ability of having that thought partner throughout the process. Right. So I love that, Brandy. I think that's incredible.
And that's what's going to happen in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
they're leaving,
and they're
like, hey, I know Power BI. Oh, do you? Okay, well, build this spreadsheet. And if we're just teaching them how to click in Power BI, they can't build that database from that spreadsheet from Excel.
Right.
So doing it hands-on, they had the experience, and what they came up with was just simply amazing. It impressed me.
Oh, I love that.
That's
Tracy,
great.
Any further thoughts from you about using AI to enhance teaching and learning outcomes in the classroom?
For sure, Brandy. That is awesome. I'm gonna steal that probably. Steal that whole concept and technique. One of the things that I like to do with students in the classroom is the same concept that Brandy does, but use it in building a thought process or an analysis when it comes to trying to figure out how to look at industry trends when it comes to where am I going to be placed in the workforce? How am I going to, and then keep digging and diving, what fits best in my role? I'm taking these certifications or I'm, excuse me, taking these courses. I want to use AI and I want to use those tools to build agents to go out and look for those job skills that you say you match with, right? And so teaching them how to use it in that particular instance, but also to look at the industry that you're going into and how that industry is going to work for you. So those are some exercises. And right now, being in the role as director of AI, building a leadership series around that particular concept is going to be my goal right now, and building that leadership and then taking those concepts as we build those leadership series, those concepts that Brandy spoke to, those will be included in that leadership series. And so that's where I see it really being used in the classroom as a way to do that as well.
And I had spoke of my advisory board earlier. If you have advisory boards, speaking to them and asking like, what is needed AI? And so from my advisory board, we created, I'm going to create this whole class of using AI and automation in administrative, because we teach one of our programs is administrative management. So when they come out into the workforce, knowing how to use that automation to make life easier. And so get your ideas from people outside of education also.
Exactly. I agree. I totally agree with that. And you said advisory board, and I'm putting together mine right now. So it's really been interesting and fun because you want to see who is speaking to what, but you also want to have a good balance. And I have to agree with Andy. You just don't want educators. You want to just have someone who they're here to be here, and they're in a whole different mindset, but they want to know more about AI as well when you're doing that and how AI can be effective. And so you want to hear from different individuals in different areas of the community and the industry as well. So having that advisory board is key because they're the ones that say, hey, we heard this, or this is happening here. You need an advisory board. I agree with Brent.
I think that tied in nicely with the question I was going to ask, but I feel like we've already addressed it about making sure that coursework and assessments aligned with AI really meets the needs of the workforce as opposed to just a single job role. But I think that connection to industry that you guys have mentioned is so important to be able to get students ready for all different types of careers, right? AI is impacting any different job role. So being able to have that representation from industry really makes a big difference in how we're executing in the classroom. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the mindset shift, right? We talked about the educational mindset shift between educators and administrators embracing AI, but I think there's a shift that needs to happen on the student side as well. So how do we get them ready to shift between cultures and systems that they're used to in education to now this AI driven education that they're going to be seeing over the next several years? Thoughts on that, Tracy, going to you.
So I'm thinking that you now have to look as it, we all have a fixed mindset, right? Especially as educators. We ain't moving. That's just what we do. We know it. We've been here before. We have all these tools. Everybody says, use these, and then they go away. Unfortunately, with this tool, in particular, AI is not going anywhere. And so you have to think about intentional partnership. How can I make these tools and be intentional about the partnership that you have with AI? And so for me, it's about, when I think about that mind shift, how is this going to act as my partner? It goes back to the whole pilot, co-pilot, right? This is my partner. I'm going to be riding with it for a while until it retires. And understand different versions retire. So your co-pilot may retire. We know that AI is moving so fast, right? So that co-pilot that I have, that I started with, it's going to get upskilled and upgraded. So now I got to shift my mind. This is a new partner. I got to show him the ropes of how I want to get there. And he's going to come with some other features to show me how to get there faster. So now I have to have this intentional partnership, and it's an ongoing partnership, and understanding that in this partnership, there are going to be changes that come along the way. I have to accept them. I have to keep moving through them, but eventually, intentionally, to get to my goal. I still have to land this plane. I still have to get to my destination, right? I still have to do that. And so I think that mind shift has to be from that fixed standard to intentional partnership with AI.
Oh, I really like that. Brandy, any additional thoughts from you on the mindset shift?
Yes, but Tracey talks about the shift of educators, and with the students, they also need to shift. We need them to shift from, I just need to finish this assignment, I just need to do this, to I need to learn. I need to learn, and I need to learn how to adapt and to continuously grow. So like Tracey said, AI is going to keep evolving. And so we need to become lifelong learners, and critical thinking is what's needed. So, and you also need to remember that not every student enters the classroom with the same access. They're not all confident. They're not all technology experts. Some have already used AI daily, and some just get totally overwhelmed. So as educators, we need to create those inclusive learning environments where students can safely experiment, they can ask questions, and they can learn how to use AI ethically and help them build their confidence to connect with their future careers. So, even if it's a second try, we need to be patient with those who, some are going to excel and they're going to do amazing, and some are just going to struggle the whole way through. And we just need to be there for them because it's a change for them also.
And I think that kind of goes back to, as those students are boarding the plane, every student books their ticket, right? And you know how you have zones, and everybody's in a different zone. So you're in zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you have a particular seat. But I believe when you start to identify those zones when they get in, then you're able as an educator to know where to shift, that those resources to those students that Brandy is speaking to, and making sure that no one gets left behind. They're not going to get left behind because they all boarded the same plane, right? It's just a matter of the seat that they occupy and what they need in that particular seat. Some may want Pepsi, some may want Sprite. I like the little cookies. I don't like them little, the chips. I want the little puff cookies, right? And so when you talk back to course assessment, and you spoke to that in the very beginning, that's where that course assessment really comes into play when we start talking about that being in the classroom, because now you have to be able to assess the totality of all the students who are coming on that plane. So we're going on vacation because we're on a plane now. I just put it
Well, you've tied this in really nicely, Tracey. I wanted to talk briefly, thinking about skills, and what we've been talking about today is getting students ready to transition into the workforce that is more automated with AI. One of the key components of that is being able to demonstrate those skills in a way that employers will be able to understand. And so I think certification plays a role in that. But how do you see with your students certification helping them verify these skills that they're learning in the classroom? Tracey, will come to you, and then Brandy. Okay.
So when I think about that, I think about targeted digital skills along with learning. Because one thing about a degree program, it targets the learning. We know that you can learn. We know that you have done the work. But when we start talking to employers now, we have to look at targeted digital skills and what those skills are going to be. I met with, let's say, individuals, if they're using Salesforce. Salesforce has AI embedded all in it. If we look at Google, what are their standards? And so when I start looking at and I start talking to industry experts and I start talking to employers and HR heads and just different people, what are you looking for? And they're looking for targeted digital skills. How do we target those skills? And how do we implement those skills? Well, we know that we all been together with Pearson VUE and Certiport. It's all about those certifications and those and earning that. And so we're going to have to now move to embedding those targeted digital skills into learning. We cannot avoid it. We can't say, oh, just take this course and read about it and you know about it and that's okay. Students really are going to have hands-on practicums. They're going to have skills build labs. They're going to have all those things to target to get them into that workforce, because employers are now saying, what are your AI skills? What do you know? What do you know how to use prompting? All organizations are different. You have some organizations that are Microsoft, that's all they use. They use Copilot. You have some organizations that use ChatGPT. You have some organizations that use Gemini. So when we start talking about that and shifting to those performance measures that employers are looking for, that's going to speak to those targeted digital skills when we start talking to employment or speaking to employment.
I like that. Brandy, additional thoughts from you?
I agree. Certifications are still valuable. They're even more valuable. The industry certifications, but also having portfolios, project-based learning. This all helps. When I create my courses, I do intentionally connect coursework to the industry expectations, to the certifications. Like the students complete their projects that align with the Microsoft Office exams or whatever exam I'm giving. And but I'm also applying those authentic business scenarios. So they're building, they're learning, they're preparing all for the real world. And so that they have that credibility when they enter the workforce.
Yes.
Oh, that's incredible. I love the idea that it's not just about teaching the skills, but when students walk away with a certification, they're able to show what they've learned, right? It's not just a grade on a report card or a transcript. It's actual tangible skills and proof that they know what they're doing and can use that on the job. And thinking about students, we have some incredible questions coming in from our attendees today. So I wanted to pitch a couple of these to both of you.
Okay. All right.
One is, which tasks can be done with AI and which cannot replace humans? As an AI and data science student, what skills should I focus on? Those that AI can't replace or those that complement AI? So Brandy, we'll come to you first and then Tracey.
So AI cannot replace you and your personality.
That's
empathy, what you know. And like we said earlier, you want to use AI as a tool. You don't want to use it as a whole process. So if you're going in and you're throwing something into AI and you're not even thinking about it, your brain is not working. So you want to have something tangible to put into AI. You want to know what you're looking for so that you can still be you want your brain to still work in the process. You don't want it to just everything AI and then you don't know you never read it. You don't know what it produced. So you want to make sure that, you are still you and that you are still being producing and working to your fullest, but using it as a helper, as a tool, but not just totally relying on AI.
Right.
Answer that.
That was a good answer. I kudos, ditto. I say the same thing.
Okay, Tracey, I have another one that I'm going to pitch over to you.
Okay.
With AI advancements happening like lightning, which I love that phrasing because I completely agree. How is one to keep up and stay relevant with such tech speed when things are changing daily? So thoughts on that, because I know you were an early adopter on the AI front.
So one of the things that I'm learning, and you're going to get a boatload of information. There are some really good online resources to kind of keep you plugged in to see what's happening. I particularly pay attention to the big name, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Claude, the ChatGPT, and I just kind of keep an eye on what they're doing, how they're moving. They're all in competition to see who can be first, second, third, fourth, and it switches every 5 minutes. But making sure that you are staying aligned with what's going on. You cannot not have the information in front of you, but then also if there's a particular tool that you like to use, make sure you keep your eye on that tool and what it's doing against its competitors, right? Because now you can see, okay, I love using this tool, but they may be finding, they may be falling behind, and I have to go look at another tool to get some information out of it. And so don't be afraid to use other tools. Don't be afraid to experiment with tools. But I also would encourage you to stay online, stay focused. Yes, you're going to get a lot of the fly-by nights, give me $20 and I can give you a certificate. Don't fall for those scams, but because you'll get what $20 gives you. And we know with the price of gas, that's not much. So think about it that way. And that's a joke. That's a joke. But also understanding that you have to stay in alignment and making sure that you're researching, that you're listening. Join some online platforms. If there's an advisory board at your college or at your school, or if there's a team on I know a lot of organizations are creating AI task force just to stay engaged. You may want to join in that and find some like-minded people around you that can help you as you keep matriculating through this whole AI journey.
I would say don't overload yourself either. Like if you fall in love with one, stick it and become, a perfectionist in that one and use that one because it gets to know you. The AI,
there's learning on both sides, right? That are beneficial.
It's learning you. Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much. This has been absolutely incredible. And I know we have so many other questions flooding in, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that we're out of time. Before we wrap things up, I just wanted to share a couple quick resources with everyone here. Let's see. Let's make sure we're ready to go. Let me highlight the right one. Okay, perfect. All right. Hold on just 1 second. There we go. So everyone can see. Before we wrap things up, I just wanted to give everyone an opportunity to continue the conversation that we've had today, talking about AI skills and the value of certification in the workforce. So here's a couple different places where you can go to keep the conversation going, to learn about the value of certification for employers, what benefit it brings both in AI and in traditional technology skills. We also have some additional Microsoft resources that you can learn about from a certification standpoint. So we're so excited to be able to share these with you. Please feel free to dive into those to learn a little bit more and to keep this fabulous conversation going. So thank you to our panelists. Thank you for taking the time to learn with us today. We hope that you all have a fabulous day and have a great one. Thanks, everyone.